All right, everyone, let's get started. Thank you so much for joining today. I am so honored and thrilled to have our attendees. I know that you have a full schedule, so it's really a privilege that you're here with us today to discuss specifically WISEid for choice schools. This session is going to be great for you if you're a beginner user or even if you're a veteran user. WISEid is a reporting application that you are going to be using when you are interacting with our WISE reporting. And WISEid is really important, and what it does is it's assigning a unique, permanent, and we work hard to make it unduplicated, a student identifier for your students that you're reporting to WISEdata. So we're going to talk about what this looks like throughout the school year, how to interact with the tool, and we certainly welcome questions. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping really quickly. We have some great colleagues from DPI on the call today, and they're here to support us in the Teams meeting. If you have a question, feel free to throw it here in the chat, and we will follow up with those questions. We'll record them. If we can answer the questions during our session today, we certainly will. Otherwise, we'll post a follow-up. Otherwise, I appreciate everyone having their mics muted. At the end, we can certainly invite for that to open up. But for now, we will get started discussing WISEid. We do have information that you need to enter into your SIS at a minimum to attain a WISEid. Now, this is not the extensive list of what you need to report on your students, on that you're sending over data to WISEdata that will eventually generate the school report card. These are the minimum demographic pieces that you will need to attain to simply have a student attain a WISEid. And so all of these pieces are where you are going to enter this into your SIS and then begin moving forward. Attaining WISEids, we'll discuss the processes of how to attain those WISEids. There are some things that I want you to be aware of on the horizon of the 2022-2023 school year. And one of those pieces is gender. We do have a slight change to the collection, and DPI is going to release help notes on that. We do have information. All of these hyperlinks are here for your reference. We also have some great pieces of reporting that have changed with race ethnicity. We have some additions that your school can take advantage of. And so to attain a WISEid, you need a student's birth date and a parent guardian name. When we're generating our paperwork for enrollment, you want to front load these questions to your families so that you can have all the WISEid information in one fell swoop, a nice streamline of collection. And there is, for race ethnicity, a two-part question. The first question is asking if the student is Hispanic Latino, and so that would be a yes, no, true, false. And then the next piece is to select the categories that apply to the student in attendance. And so you are able to choose all 5 of these categories or just one. And so we do have guidance to help you as you're collecting this information, but sometimes as schools may be joining the choice program and learning new things about what is required, this is a nice piece of information to add to your enrollment paperwork. We had discussed that there are new things related to our data elements with race ethnicity, and one of those is our tribal affiliation data point. And This information is invaluable. We're really excited to offer this data collection. And if you are interested in collecting and reporting tribal affiliations for your students, the goal is that we want to take a look at the services and programs that we're offering, and we want to look at the effectiveness and make improvements, specifically with our Native American children and youth. When we do report tribal affiliation, and we'll move on to the ancestry ethnic background, there are grants that are available to choice schools if you report this data and you have students that qualify. So keep that in mind. Like I said, we have a lot of hyperlinks here, but you need to check when you're thinking about, is tribal affiliation something that we would like to move forward with? We need you to verify with your SIS vendor if they have built the tool for you. And so I'll show you how to take a look at that to see what your SIS offers. So when we're looking at demographic data, this is what the WISEids are essentially attached to. Okay, so we're able to take a look at all of these different viewpoints of your student body, and we're able to take a look at their progress and their successes, and that's what's displayed on the school report card that is generated from the data that you're submitting through your student information system. So these pieces of demographic data include a student's economically disadvantaged status, and we take a look at attendance, grade level placement, dropout, graduation credentials, English proficiency, and race ethnicity. And again, this is not this extensive list of everything that you're submitting, but this is some of the key pieces of demographic data that are attached to our WISEids. When we're looking at what we should be doing in the school year, thinking fall, okay? Or I should even backtrack. I was just speaking to a school, and I know that many of the applications that you have for your choice students, or even just for your private school students, some of these applications are being completed in the winter time, right? Maybe January, February, March. And so if you are a school that is choosing to report all of your students, that means you opted in to the all student report card, you want to make sure that you are collecting the demographic information necessary to attain a WISEid for all of your students. So thinking about how you can streamline processes, what information that you want to present to your parents and families. Maybe your SIS has like a parent portal, for example, that allows you to complete that enrollment paperwork. Think about what you have and what you may need to refine in those processes. When we are uploading and attaining WISEids, there are two different processes, and we'll look at that together today. And it's important when you're looking at the option of the all student report card, if you choose to report all of your students or choose to report only your choice participants, have this discussion now with your colleagues, have this discussion now with your administrators. You have the opportunity to submit a form to the Parental Education Options Team, PEO, to designate your school's option on the all student report card. And so that's something that will be released in the spring, that form. And if you want to change your designation of opting in or opting out, you're able to do that. And it needs to, that form is, the deadline is in very early August for that to be submitted. Once you attain those WISEids, you want to work with your vendor to discuss the upload schedule. And so what that means is, are the WISEids going to be refreshed in the background automatically by your vendor? Or is this something as that your school is responsible for doing? Do you need to do manual uploads using the WISEid application? During the school year, after the fall is completed and the school year is progressing, it's important that you are going into WISEdata portal and reviewing the validation messages. WISEid will flag any concerns that we may have, and that will be something that you can view in WISEdata portal. Be sure to make corrections if necessary and get those validation messages cleared. And then you'll also need, if you have a vendor that requires for you to manually upload your WISEid file, you'll want to continue to do that. Essentially, because we have so many students in our state that are being reported, it's so important that you continue to refresh your WISEids and keep those pieces of data current. And be sure this happens very often where a WISEid will be claimed by another school for the wrong student. They begin reporting data under that WISEid, and then it builds a bit of a spider web that we have to untangle at times. So being proactive, using that best practice. And then as you have new enrollees coming in, be sure that you are attaining those WISEids for those new students. When we're thinking end of year, springtime, again, going back into WISEdata portal, viewing those validation messages. If it's an issue in WISEid, make the correction in WISEid, the validation message will go away. Or if you find the discrepancy is in your SIS, when you make the correction in your SIS, the validation message will clear. And then in the spring, look to DPI for us to give you new collections, new updates, so that you can be sure that your enrollment paperwork is ready for the fall for the following school year. It's always best to get things started, get things in place, because we know how busy it is. It's always busy, but the fall can be a different kind of busy. As you're working in your SIS, entering all of these demographics for your students to attain WISEids, please be sure that you are aware that each SIS vendor has a flag. It has a tool for you to designate if a student is a choice participant, okay? And a mistake that happens is the folks that are interacting with the SIS are not aware of this tool. Usually it's a drop down or a check radio box where you're able to specify a choice student participation. And if your school chooses to only report choice participants but sends a WISEid for all of your students, it can get sticky removing those enrollment records that should not be published. So do yourself a favor, click around in your SIS, get user documents in front of you for their customer support and their user manuals, and find that piece, find that window, where the choice student indicator lives. Okay. So let's talk more about the beginning of year file tasks. When you're entering your student information into your SIS, we have vendors that have built a tool that is called automated identity tool. And what this does is it allows you as the customer to retrieve a WISEid through your SIS rather than going into the WISEid application itself. If you are running a manual upload, you would be exporting a spreadsheet from your SIS of the students in the WISEid demographic information, and you would place that into WISEid itself. You would run a file upload, and that file upload will give you some feedback. You may have errors in the upload. Maybe you're missing a piece of that demographic information that's required to attain a WISEid. And so what you do is you continue to work through that file upload process. If that's something that's new to you, please submit a help ticket with our customer services team, and we're happy to help you with that. But we do have a lot of user documents and even screenshots here. For those of you that have not already logged into WISEid, we want you to be in the know. We want you to be aware of what's happening in your WISEid application. And so this is not necessarily new, but it may be new to you. And so I wanted to cover the ability of you having email addresses email addresses entered into the WISEid application that allows us to send alerts related to your WISEid reporting. If you do not subscribe within the agency notifications, essentially it is up to you and your staff to go into WISEid to see if you have any issues that you should be aware of. So do yourself a favor. I know you have a lot on your plate. Go ahead, log into the agency notifications, enter your email address, and select the student data pieces that apply to choice schools, and get some notifications coming into your inbox. Now I have a lot of screenshots here, and you're going to be able to retrieve these and reference these in the future. This slide deck will be available to you, as well as this recording. And essentially these screenshots are walking you through if you have to do a manual upload using the WISEid application. These screenshots offer the how-to, okay? And so use these as a reference if you're a new user, or sometimes WISEid is not an application that you often interact with. So this is a really great refresher as well. But what I would like to continue to walk through is when you are attaining new WISEids or making changes with existing WISEids, we have something called a change request, okay? And the change request is essentially you are trying to modify the student information in WISEid, and we are asking you to make a request and give us details of why there should be a change. As I had previously said, we have so many students that are reporting in our state. We need to be very careful on what changes that we're making. Please use documentation when you are enrolling your students to make sure that the accuracy and things and the student information is being entered with fidelity, because we know sometimes our students move, and when we have movement between students with WISEids and change requests, that can get complicated. But if you know that you're using the right information and you feel confident in what you're entering, we're all in a better place. Change requests are when you see, let's say we have a student's incorrect birth date, human error. We entered May 3rd instead of May 30th for a birth date. Another school does have the ability to deny a change request if they are objecting to that. And if that is something that happens to you, please submit a help ticket. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to that school to clarify. This is something that does come up sometimes. But what I'm taking you to is a screenshot of our change request menu. At the top of WISEid, there is a change request piece. And the change requests are listed according to the upload that you had done most recently. You can look at archived or previous uploads. And so this is a screen of a change request. Okay, what that means is I went in and I tried to change, in this example, I tried to remove a suffix. So the old value was a suffix, and now I removed it. And we at DPI would like you, if a suffix belongs on the student's name, please keep it there. It makes it so much easier for everyone to identify which student is accurate. And so we expand this menu. We see our requested changes. We're trying to take off that suffix. If there are agencies where the student was previously enrolled, that would be listed under dependent agencies. And then we have our comments menu. Excuse me. We need you to navigate to the comments menu and tell us why you're changing the name. So maybe per enrollment paperwork, the student should not have a suffix. That is very rare. Usually if the suffix is there, we should keep it there. But we want you to give comments per what piece of information is requiring you to make this change to this WISEid. Once you submit your comment, you will generate a change request. It will come to us at DPI, and we are then able to move forward and make that change if it can be approved and the changes were intentional. This is more information. The change request denial does not come up often. There's information here for you for your reference. Again, please reach out if you are going through a denied change request or want to deny a change request. If you see a blatant, issue where no, this is not correct, definitely advocate, reach out to that school, say, hey, I think there was something that happened, this was a mistake. Reach out to DPI, let us know, and we are happy to help resolve this, clear confusion. This is something that we interact with on a daily basis. So please don't let anything that may happen in WISEid be a burden to you. Reach out to us and we will help you. Another piece that comes with WISEid doing the file upload is a potential match. Please take your time when you are reviewing matches, and notice all of these pieces, these tools live up here at the top. So here we are in review matches. What this means is you uploaded a student that looks similar to a student we already have in WISEid. So we want to pause for a moment and clarify, hey, is this student already in the system? Is this your student? Because we don't want to create a duplicate WISEid. So what you would do is you would review that potential match and verify, is this your student? Okay. And what the process looks like, there's a big blue bar. Pay attention to the big blue bars. Follow the blue bars. It says, here's the record you uploaded. So this is your student at the top. And then as you continue, there's another blue bar. It says, here are the existing people that look similar. We are drawing up all the students that may have similar demographics to verify, is this your student? Are they already in the system? And if they are not, then at the bottom, at the very bottom of the page, there's a radio button where you would continue to create a new person and attain a new WISEid. All right, another piece of information that we're going to discuss, and when you interact with WISEid, will be you logged into your WISEdata portal and you saw an error or a warning related to WISEid. So what you would do in WISEdata portal, you're going to expand the arrow, expand using the arrow, and then you are going to click on the details to dig in to see what's really going on. We have something called a KBA, knowledge base article. When you click on the code of the error, it will tell you how to fix the error. So that's a great place to start. If you click into your error and you are viewing your information and you see two different pieces of student information connected to the same WISEid, you will want to report that duplicate using our WISEid application. This is where, a user may have rushed through the match review process, said, oh, wow, my student's already in here. I'm going to grab that WISEid. And they start reporting under the wrong WISEid. They created a duplicate. So here's where you're able to put the two WISEids, what the real WISEid should be, which is accurate, and make that clarification. When you log into WISEdata and you may see an error or warning and you realize, uh-oh, I uploaded the wrong information into WISEid. We need to go in and change that. You would work within the Manage Person Data tool here. You're going to use the Person Search Edit. And when you go into Person Search Edit, this is on the wrong place. You are going to take a look to see what is incorrect when you're looking in Person Search Edit. Let me go back to my screenshot here. And when you find your student, you're going to go in and make a change request. We had discussed change requests previously, and the change request can happen through a file upload, like we had discussed, doing that manual upload. They also can be generated, these change requests, because you see a discrepancy in what's entered into WISEid. So when you make a change, if you entered something incorrectly into WISEid and you need to make a change, it generates a change request. I know this is a lot of information for everyone, and if you're a new user, if your head is buzzing, that's good. It's all great exposure. But please know, when you're using the tool and you're living in this, you will get the hang of it. You'll understand what you're doing, and we're here to help you. This screenshot is demonstrating what is displayed in the student details within WISEdata portal. And when we look at WISEdata column here, we have the student's WISEid, their name, their birth date. I want you to know the WISEdata column here, this is representing what is in your SIS. When you're looking at the WISEid column here, this is what is in the WISEid application itself. So if you see a discrepancy here, you need to determine, oops, did I enter something wrong in my SIS where it says WISEdata? Or do I need to go in and change things in WISEid itself? So that's a perfect example here. If we have a Gabe and a Gabriel, if your school can change and use the full legal name, we would like that. We would value that. We talked about KBAs, knowledge-based articles. Whenever you see an error or warning, you can click on the code itself, and we're able to dig into, and it'll tell us how to fix things. We have a great KBA link here for you to access that database directly if you should ever need to. And I did throw in some links here for everyone to help you if you're just getting started. There's a step-by-step guide to get those WISEids. We have our WISEid help. We have great training videos. We also have a user group call that right now we host bi-weekly, and we give WISEid updates, need to know information, and you can ask questions live during the call. We have our annual task checklist. This is a great new addition to let you know where you are in the scope and sequence for reporting in the school year. We do have a Google Currents community specific to our choice schools. Please grab the link, join that when you can with your colleagues. You can ask questions there and share experiences. And that is our presentation today on WISEid. I am going to take a look to see if we have questions that we can answer during this time. We are at 11:45. If you have questions, throw them in the chat and we certainly can follow up. Where will this be posted? I've struggled with error correction on WISEid. Where will the presentation be posted, Shelley? Is that what you're asking? Yes, we can throw that link where the presentations will be posted.
I'm new here and I've had problems all year with this. And I still have errors on it and I just can't seem to get it. I don't know. I want it to be a green check on my program and not a red X.
Yeah, so please submit a help ticket in the chat. Heidi threw in the link to a help ticket and we can help you one-on-one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Jill, you had asked, where's the vendor list? Glad you brought that up. So I'm throwing that in the chat. This tool allows you to see all of the certifications completed by your vendor. So on the right-hand column, there's a supported feature. Take a look at that to see if your vendor is working to report all the pieces that you want to report, okay? So for example, FACTS has immunization registry integration. That's awesome. It automatically updates your immunization data rather than you having to do it manually. Some of the vendors have the racial ethnic subgroups that we discussed. Digital equity pieces. So take a look at this to view what certifications your vendor has completed. And then let me post the conference link where you can retrieve this. Oh, thank you, Heidi. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for your attendance today. Thank you for everything you're doing in our community and schools. Please feel free to send over your questions, submit health tickets at any time, and have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.